Welcome everyone to Dead Talk Live, and tonight we are joined by the Ghost Brothers themselves. Guys, thank you so much for coming on our show. How are you all doing tonight?
Yo, I'm doing excellent. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So, let's just get right to the nitty gritty here. You guys have a new podcast that's out. It's by Discovery. So it's called Urban Legends. All right. Now we're going to get to the investigation parts and all that, but I want to hear about the podcast first. Tell us, what is the podcast all about and what do you guys do on it? Whoever feels free like
Yeah,
stepping in, just step on in.
yeah. So our podcast is called Urban Legends with the Ghost Brothers, and it's literally just that. Like we get to explore some of the country's craziest urban legends. I mean, from Candyman to Bloody Mary to Crybaby Bridge, just all the crazy stories you've heard since you were a kid. We get to talk about them, discuss them, interview a few people that had some encounters, and just give you the old-fashioned Ghost Brothers flair that only me, Marcus, and Jawan can give you.
That is
Candyman. I thought you were gonna say Candyman two more times. I was gonna hang up right now.
No,
Candyman.
no. In this interview, you
so.
gotta.
So let's go back to how you guys all hooked up, how you guys all met. How far back does that go when you guys met and became friends? Let's go to Marcus on that. Marcus, when do you remember meeting these two guys?
Me, Dalen, and Jawan go back on so many different levels. At the time, Dalen and Jawan were actually pledging a fraternity, a dope fraternity, amazing fraternity, and I was actually cutting hair on the AUC campus where they were attending at Clark Atlanta University. I was cutting on Morehouse's campus, and I just so happened to be cutting Dalen's hair one time. And when I started cutting Dalen's hair, randomly, just how Atlanta is, I later on met Jawan down the road on another gig, and didn't even know they were roommates. And it's kind of crazy how we all became brothers like immediately once we kind of like found out all like the triangle. I like to call it the triangle. We run the triangle. We're like the Bulls. We run the triangle, baby. We out here. You already know. You know what it is, Juwan. You know
Now,
what I'm saying? So
so I was gonna ask there, are you all three from Atlanta? Are you guys native Georgians?
No, we're not. We all came from different areas. Marcus is by way of Tennessee, Texas. Dalen is Texas, and I'm Illinois. Atlanta has just kind of like adopted us, and we're all together there now.
So tell me, Juwan, I mean, the paranormal, okay? Did you guys have a passion for it before you met? Is it something that developed when you met? When did the fascination for investigating the paranormal come into play?
Man, I think that fascination kind of came in realistically when we all came together to have our first investigation, like back in, man, we started, Dalen and I started back in 2010, 2011. We came together. Dalen brought the idea to me. It was literally in the middle of the night. He like kicked my door in while we were roommates and was like, yo, we need to hunt ghosts. And I'm like, what? Get out. You can't be sober. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and, uh, and so he closed the door. I woke up that morning and was like, man, you actually have a good idea. Let's put this into motion. And so we literally took our first investigation. Got a camera, took it down the road to Savannah, started investigating some haunted locations, brought it back, got Marcus involved, and a network came calling. Like it was really a dope experience. But I think that happened early on, probably like 2010,
I,
2011.
I mean, that's just unheard of. Now, Dalen, I mean, to go from just in college, hey, let's go start hunting some ghosts and investigating, to ending up on TV, the Discovery Network. I mean, that's like blows you away. Were you surprised even today on how everything unfolded with you guys?
To be honest, man, I'm surprised in the magnitude in which it blew up. Like I always knew that the idea of Ghost Brothers was a great idea and that it would do well on television, but never in a million years did I think that we would be five series in a podcast show airs internationally. We have fans in Brazil and Africa and England. Like I would never, never imagine that. But that is by far the coolest thing ever, man. Like people, listen, white people are really wearing our faces on their chest.
I mean,
every
middle
single
America,
day.
not regular. I'm talking about middle America. Middle America, Jack, is wearing three brothers on their chest, and they're doing it proudly. They're saying, "Straight ghosting to the top, sir. We love you. We love you, Marcus. We love you, David. We love you, Juwan. Woo! To the top."
So Marcus, let me ask, the whole theme of the Ghost Brothers, when it hit TV, it was basically paranormal ghost hunting with a light comedic touch. Is that something that the network brought to you? Is that something that you guys brought to the show, pitched it to them? Which way did that work out?
Actually, I think it was the other way around. It was Dalen and Juwan coming up with the actual idea of Ghost Brothers and shooting it. I think, Dalen, you actually have a very funny story about the origin of the production of Ghost Brothers.
Let's hear it.
With my good dude, Spike.
Nah, me and Juwan didn't have any money back then. We wanted to shoot the pilot or the
How many dollars y'all have? How many dollars y'all have?
Man, we had $73.64. I remember it being 64 cents exactly because I remember counting them 4 pennies out. Needed. But no, we just knew that we needed someone to videotape what we were doing. That's all we knew. We didn't have any equipment. We didn't have any idea, nothing. Just we needed someone that had a camera. So we literally went on Craigslist and put an ad out if we could find someone that would be willing to come videotape us for a couple hours for $74.64. And one guy.
It don't sound like y'all went on Craigslist. It sound like y'all went on Craig and them's list. That joint.
It was Craig's cousin's list.
Craig.
It was Mike's list.
Mike's list.
John, honestly, man, as you can see, we've always had this relationship.
Yeah.
Like, it comes off on camera on the show, and it comes off in this interview. Like it's your best friends. You're doing these paranormal activities with, like paranormal investigations with. So it's like it's natural for us.
So let me ask you this, Juwan. I mean, you're dealing with some serious stuff. I'm a believer, 100%. Never had an experience. I don't want one. I'm serious. I don't want a paranormal experience. I'm a true believer. I don't need to see it to believe it. Now, when you guys started hunting ghosts, was there any bit of skepticism, or did you guys go into, let's start with Juwan. Did you go into this a full believer and you were just looking to gather evidence?
It's actually both, right? Like, I think that we knew we were tapping into something that we probably shouldn't be playing with. And so we were definitely fearful in regards to what could happen to us. Like what could we essentially be getting ourselves into that we may not necessarily know how to handle. So going in, we would always pray. We were like, how do we protect ourselves? In that regard, one of the first rules we learned when Dalen and I were doing an investigation in Savannah early on, is you have to be intentional and set boundaries with the spirits. Like, you have to let the spirits know, I don't want you to follow us. Please stay here. You're not welcome with me. So we learned that as well. So we try to implement those particular strategies in the field just to kind of make sure we're protected when we go back into our other lives, right?
Exactly. And is that the same for both of you? You went into this, fully respecting what you were doing, protecting yourselves before you went into a haunted location?
Yeah. For me, I grew up in the church. My mother's my head pastor. She's been a pastor of my church since I was in the 3rd grade. So I've always had a level of spirituality and believing in angels and demons and God and the devil and all of that. So I knew that stuff was real, but I had never seen something just materialize in real life, broad daylight in front of me. But I just knew that with the show, I just wanted to be able to tell the truth, because literally a few years prior, we was just like everyone else sitting at the house wondering, are these shows real? Mm-hmm. Are they faking evidence? Is it just entertainment value? And I was like, if we ever get the opportunity to do it, like I want people to know that like we're real people, like your real cousins, your uncle, your brother, and we telling you the truth. Like what we
Exactly.
see, we ain't faking nothing. Like this is our truth.
Now,
Yeah.
Marcus, all right, you're out.
These are the same people who went on Craig's and them lists to put together with $73.64.
Mike's list.
Mike's list.
Mike's list. Okay, Mike's list got you.
Marcus, now you're in a haunted location. Now, this is on TV, so obviously you have crew around you, cameras. You guys are trying to be respectful of what's surrounding you, the potential of what is surrounding you. This applies to not only the Ghost Brothers TV show, but it's all the other paranormal ghost hunting shows. Do you think having that many people that we don't see in front of the camera, it's not just you three, there's people filming you. Tell us, have you ever had an experience where something got really irritated at the amount of people and you just felt it? I mean, an energy has like taken over the place that is just extremely pissed off at what you guys are doing.
Yeah, we were in Arizona, I believe, Zuma, and one of our cameramen, when we were filming, actually took a tumble and injured his elbow. Actually, shattered his elbow.
Damn.
I don't know if it's because of the ghost, but I do know we ain't liable. That's all I know, really. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that we're not liable. We made them sign all waiveries and rights away. So that has nothing to do with us. They cannot sue us. They cannot do anything to us. But it has happened. I said, take that up with the ghost if it was happening. So, you know, we've had some stuff that's gone on with us that's been very crazy. And actually the crew is just as nervous sometimes as we are, you know, because we are going into some places that are condemned, have like some like really things that like crazy things that have happened as far as rituals, things that, you know, we had to keep our spirits like guarded and protected from. So we always make sure that we protect them and you know, cover our camera people too and our producers. So it gets real in the field, baby. It's real in these streets.
Absolutely. Now, Juwan, since you guys started this whole thing to where you are today, I mean, you must have learned so much stuff over these last 10 years and whatnot. I mean, has everything been just a big surprise like that night when you guys decided to do this? The revelations that happened since then, the stuff that you have learned is something that you never expected?
Kind of like, so, all right. If somebody were to come to you and say, your wildest dreams will come true, but you have to wait 5 years, would you have the patience? So like, that's what I think about when we're talking about this journey that we've been on. Daly and I came with the idea in 2010, 2011. The network, we ended up shooting the first season literally in 2015, into 2015, 2016, it airs. So over that time frame, I think we always had the confidence about this being something great. But I don't know that we knew at the rate in which it would take off and the things that we would be able to experience and be exposed to and learn along the way, like we really were fully able to capture or wrap our mind around, right? I think there were certain things that like how much we would touch people, like how influential it was or how inspirational and motivational it was just for people that don't even know us. And so like when you connect with those people or supporters of the show, it really means a lot. And then you learn the industry that we've all been a part of, the entertainment industry. We're learning it from a different perspective. Exactly. So it's just been so many different things about this journey that makes it such a beautiful process. We've had our ups and we've had our downs. Like for instance, like we lost the show. Like they didn't bring Ghost Brothers proper back for a third season, right? So we didn't know what was going to happen. And honestly, we had no idea. We ended up pitching another show and it got picked up, but like we had to go through that emotion of like, all right, we don't know what's next.
The uncertain future, you don't know. Well, nothing is guaranteed, especially in entertainment.
Exactly. So we had to learn that. So
now, Dalen, there are a lot of amateur first timers like you guys back in the day who's like, let's go hunt ghosts, all right? Knowing what you know now, is that something you would recommend to people? Just go in and do it, just jump right in? Or what you've learned, you would tell them, you know what, guys, take a step back, really think this through. What would you
You know
tell them?
what? I would tell people, man, to take baby steps. Like if you've never done it before, you're trying to test the waters. Like you shouldn't jump right into the Ouija board. You know what I mean? Like like jump in, you diving off the deep end. But I would get me a spirit box. You know what I mean? Or EMF detector or SLS camera, something visual, something you can ask questions. Maybe a REM pod, something very low key, low maintenance that you can kind of just, like I said, baby steps in. I wouldn't recommend a seance. I wouldn't recommend, doing mirror gazing, like none of that crazy level 2.
And the crazy thing is now you don't know how to close nothing because this your first
Exactly.
this your first go around and you done open up 3 portals.
If you're doing that course, you got to ride.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
Now,
want 3 portals in their living room.
now, Marcus, what was, in your personal experience, that one piece of evidence that just blew you away that you guys have captured on your journey?
We're in Old City.
Oh, think you froze.
That's kind of funny how that happened. If you think about Jawan, me and you were already kind of doing the steps of Lights Out because me and Jawan were actually doing an investigation. Dalen was back at the base camp, and we were walking up the stairs. And as we were walking up the stairs, Dalen caught a shadow figure passing right through us as we were walking the other way. So it's just, and we saw it on the tape and everything live. It was just crazy. So we've had a lot of crazy things, and that's why I have the lighting like this, because I want to make you understand how spooky this joint be. I was like, ooh, in a way deep place. I don't know. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Juwan, I mean, I'm a sucker for these ghost hunting shows. I love them. I just want to learn and be on that journey. As everybody who watches these shows, they watch them because they want to experience that journey right along with you guys. All right. So when you're doing this, Juwan, what is it besides the lighthearted comedic aspect? What is it that you want to show people? Like we've seen a lot of times where you guys show how dark it is in the location that you're doing. What is it that you're trying to convey exactly as to how creepy and scary the situation that you are in really is?
I mean, yeah, granted, you can try to show that it's pitch black. I mean, people know that because we're in IR, right? Like you're definitely you're watching us in night vision. But one of the things we want to bring is unconventional techniques. So when we're investigating this activity, we want to try and do stuff like visual or provoking, where we're essentially like creating our own flashback, right? Like we're dressing up or we're trying to recreate one of the stories, and in hopes that we can capture evidence that is compelling, that people can walk away with and say that like, yo, if I explore my curiosities in a creative manner, then quite possibly I can get some results, right? Like it just, outside of the levity that we bring to it, I think that's unique in itself because typically the space was extremely dark, and I think the humor that we offer added some light. Mm-hmm. But I think like if we can inspire people to want to capture some compelling evidence through creative outlets, is a huge takeaway.
Absolutely. Now, Dalen, when on the podcast, right? When you guys are doing the podcast and you're talking about these urban legends, is it just you three, or do you guys have special guests on? Especially when you're dealing with a particular legend, how does the podcast? What's the layout for the podcast itself?
Well, before I answer that question, I would like to just go ahead and say, for us not to have all talk today, we're all matching, and I think that's the coolest thing ever, guys. All of us wear black and red on, man. We're in here good.
Gang.
All right. I love it. Great minds think alike. But no, to answer your question, man, we have a pretty solid format with the podcast, man. So we have a lot of back and forth Ghost Brother banter. And then we like to bring in an expert, and one of us will interview that expert. So the expert could be someone who's actually researched these urban legends, studied it, wrote a film, a book, someone who's an authority in that subject matter. And then we also bring in our fans and our listeners, and we allow them to tell one of their stories if they've had anything similar happen to them in their past every episode. So yeah, we bring in some of our friends and family all the time.
That's fun. Marcus, is the purpose of this podcast to prove, debunk these urban legends, or just discuss them?
The purpose is just to discuss them. Some people don't even know about these things. Some, like half of the ones we didn't know ourselves. We knew the main things: Candyman, a few of them, but Crybaby, Bridge, know about it, or the legends I did not know about it. So just enlighten everybody to these urban legends, and we just have a good time explaining it and it down. If people experiences, we up into it with them. It's just dope.
It is dope. Now, either Juwan or Dale, and you guys can answer this. When it came to getting on the Discovery Network, which is a huge network, was it you guys that pitched it to them? Did they sort of hear about you? Did they find you? How did that all work out? Because, I mean, it doesn't happen where you just start doing something, in your case, paranormal investigations, and then a couple of years later, you're on television.
Yeah. Our story, man, honestly, it's just, our story is just a little different, man. And it's honestly all God, because all we did was we came up with the idea, we shot the idea like a little pilot for it. We took a couple of meetings, no one was biting. So we just put it on YouTube. Literally, it was 5 years later, someone was looking on YouTube that was working for a television development company. And they just so happened to run across our video on YouTube and saw that we were doing something very similar to what they were looking for.
Nice.
And they made the introduction to the network. And it's been a roller coaster ride ever since then.
Juwan, you guys have been named like the first African-American ghost hunting team. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. I mean, whether amateur or professional. But
no, we know. We know. It's true.
It's
we know.
It's the first African American
Jackie Robinson
on television.
That's true. Can't deny that. Absolutely. Juwan, do you just how does that make you feel? And do you feel that you've affected people in a positive way on just going out there, doing what they want to do? And you know what? You can make something out of it. You can make something that other people, doesn't matter race or color or anything like that, poor or whatnot. You can pursue your passion and do what you love doing and make a living off of it at the same time.
Yeah. I think that what's really dope is like we were doing something that was extremely authentic in us, expressing who we are and doing it with like our best friends. I think that's extremely genuine for us. I also think that we didn't know how impactful the paranormal space would be. I think Dalen mentioned earlier that, we all grew up in the church. So we all grew up with a spiritual background.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until later on down the road that we realized that there were, these dualities in that. So I think for us to do something so authentic and it be groundbreaking, and then ultimately like now it's just kind of like it's like historic for us being the first on television, and it's extremely awesome. It's powerful. It's humbling. It's all of those things. But I also like to think that like we're inspiring, because as we look at our events that we've been at and we start to take a look at the people that come out, it's been extremely diverse. We're seeing an increase in diverse, from people of color to women. So I think that that's awesome.
It is. Now, I want to let all our viewers know all the Ghost Brothers TV episodes are available on Discovery Plus. When you guys were doing the show, and you tell our viewers who never watched the Ghost Brothers TV show, were you just going to locations that, let's say, the network picked out, or was it your intention, Juwan, to go and help people out who are, having problems that are disrupting their normal everyday lives, and see if you guys can help them in any way?
I think when we first started doing Ghost Brothers proper, it was a collaborative effort. The network would throw ideas, we would throw ideas. It's just about getting the best story. And so we would really just throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. And then we grew to actually helping people. Our next transition was Ghost Brothers Haunted House Guests. So now we're going to people's homes and trying to actually offer some clarity, some comfort, and maybe even some closure to some of these families who were having issues with the spirits in their home. So we actually kind of do it a little bit of both.
Nice. Now, Dalen, is there any particular case in your mind that really sticks out to where you guys made an impact, whether it's on an individual or a family's life, and really helped them out?
Yeah. Dang. Which one I'm trying to think which one stands out the most. What was the house with the little girl, man, that loved Marcus? Like she just loved Marcus, man. The one, remember she had the little pink bicycle.
Was it Massachusetts? The Feeney house? Was
it
the
Feeney house? The Feeney house. It was just a sweet family, man, and they were dealing with some paranormal activity in their house, and they had a young daughter, and she just truly, truly loved Marcus. And at the time, Marcus was the only father out the group, and it just seemed like there was like a connection there. And yeah, she felt like, she was getting picked on at school for, things that were going on in her house. And like we were just able to make her feel really, really cool. And like she was the cool kid after we left. And like that was like the best thing ever.
That's a great feeling to have. Marcus.
She was wearing black and red, I think, the whole episode too.
Yeah.
Now, Juwan, with the podcast, first of all, when did the podcast start?
Podcast, I want to say it was this year, 2020.
This year it premiered. Looking forward in the future, like we mentioned earlier, podcast, television, entertainment, it's unpredictable. Where do you want to see the Ghost Brothers go from here? Do you guys want to dig deeper into that paranormal in one way or another? If you had a choice, we all have choices. You have a choice and you want to see what path you guys take. What path do you want to take for you, Dalen, and Marcus moving forward to do what you guys all love to do? What would that be?
I think I can answer for me, and I think Dalen and Marcus should be able to answer for themselves. But honestly, I would just love for us to go upward. I'd love for us to be growing. I'd love for us to possibly get into movies. We're talking specifics. I think that there's like a lot of opportunity here.
Absolutely, there is. Do you think, Dalen, that because like there are so many paranormal shows out there right now, you think it's a little bit oversaturated?
No, I think as long as people are providing different perspectives and different POVs, I think there's always room for growth. Like we came in talking from the perspective of young Black guys, you know what I mean? I still haven't seen the point of view of young Black women, or you know what I mean, Hispanic women, or Hispanic guy, or Asians. Like I know every race, creed, religion, everybody dies. Everybody has their beliefs and everybody has their POV. So I feel like as long as everybody is bringing something different, I feel like there's going to always be room in the paranormal.
I agree. And that brings up an interesting topic, because when we watch these shows, it is really predominantly white families, folks that, are having these problems. I'm not saying that ghosts are picking on white people or African American people or anything, but Marcus, do you think the more diversity needs more different points of view need to be shown on these shows?
Of course, yeah. Like Dalen said, that's our next move to just get other people's perspective on the afterlife. You know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much what it is. Everybody has their own ways of how they look at the afterlife. It's just I think that if there are going to be more shows, there needs to be more shows that are showing more people's perspective. So yes, I definitely believe it's necessary.
It is. I think it's definitely important to show everybody's different point of view. Rich, poor, white, black. It don't matter. The paranormal ain't picky. If you are living in a place that has bad energy around it, you don't care what race or color or creed you are. It's going to come after you. Now, with that being said, Juwan, have you guys come across a lot of dark energy, a lot of bad spirits in your research? We have seen shows that deal primarily with just malevolent spirits, okay? And the assumption is to think that it's malevolent. Do you guys walk into an investigation sort of thinking, you know what? Let's go into this open-minded. This is neither malevolent, good or bad, or none of that. Let's just see what it is. Because it is ultimately on TV. It is part of the entertainment field. There is a bigger draw for people to see something that is evil on television. Do you guys try to do this with an open mind and see if the spirit's energies intention is either good or bad?
Yeah, so we've encountered both. We've encountered the good and the bad. I think sometimes it comes based off of I think the energy that you receive is based off the energy that you actually give. So sometimes if you go in antagonizing, or if you go in with a real authoritative tone, you may get that back and in turn interpret it to be bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the most memorable investigations is the Magnolia Plantation, and that was in Louisiana. And they had other paranormal investigative teams go in, and they've had experiences of a malevolent energy, something that was extremely kind of dark and authoritative. When we went there and investigated that property, we found it to be completely different. We felt like it was more of a benevolent energy, right? So we felt like once we were done, it was welcoming. And so I think you can get different energy based off who investigates certain locations. But we tend to find
that is so true.
Both.
That is so true, Dalen. Do you believe also the energy you give off is the energy you're going to get back? Necessarily, there are paranormal investigators out there who have been doing this for years. And if they go to help a family and they hear that they brought in amateur investigators in, they're like, oh man, you probably stirred something up and you probably ended up doing more damage than any good. Are you of that mindset as well? Let's say a family is watching this right now and they need help. Should they just call their neighbor down the street who just started doing this and just toying around with the idea? Or should they really seek out people who know what the hell they're doing to not make matters worse? Are you still there?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I know. I don't know if you guys, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I think my internet, man.
We can hear you.
Yeah. So for me personally, man, I feel like you should treat this as like you would treat anything else. If your toilet broke, you wouldn't call your homeboy who ain't got no background in plumbing.
I swear to God, I'm not even trying to be funny, Dalen. I was going to use that exact same analogy. I was like, if your toilet is broke and that thing is like House Party 1,
Right.
you gonna literally listen. You ain't gonna just go in there and get a plunger. Nah. And that's how all these the other investigators look like. They do be trying to egg it on like, oh no, see, if you wouldn't have said this, then you wouldn't have this happening. So it ranges, man. It ranges.
It does. I
He's
want
a good plumber though.
to thank you guys for coming on here, talking with us, sharing your experiences. The podcast is called Urban Legends. It's available on everywhere you can hear a podcast. Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It's everywhere. Look it up. It's great. These guys go over urban legends like they talked about. They bring in experts, friends, family. It's very entertaining and it's very informative. I want to thank all three of you. Anybody have any final thoughts you want to share before we go?
Yeah, feel free to, tune in to Travel Channel every Thursday to catch our show Fright Club. And make sure you tune into our podcast weekly on any, avenue that you watch podcasts. And if you ever get hungry, don't forget that we do have our own pancake and waffle mix, Bros Gourmet. We'll be launching at the top of the week. Boom.
That's awesome.
That refreshing good old taste of pancakes.
Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms for any upcoming Ghost Brothers events. We are on everything: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It's my first and last name, Juwan Mass. You got Dalen Spratt on all platforms, and you have DeMarcus Harvey on all platforms.
And the pancake and waffle mix.
Called the Bros Gourmet.
Awesome. Thank you.
My only fans is the same as DeMarcus Harvey too. I think that's what.
I want to thank you guys so much for coming on here and sharing that with us. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun hearing your stories, hearing what you've been through, how this all started for you. It's been an amazing journey, and I think it's still just beginning. You guys have a big road ahead of you, and I see a lot of great stuff coming your way. So thank you so much. I want to thank our audience for tuning in tonight. Thank you to the Ghost Brothers. Till next time, guys, on behalf of the Ghost Brothers and myself, stay safe, stay walking. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, y'all.
Don't forget the pancake and waffle mix.
Don't forget pancakes, baby.
Bye-bye.
Pancakes. For the cakes. You came for the cake.